From the moment Charlotte Flair snapped on Ronda Rousey in the main event of Survivor Series 2018 after she replaced an injured Becky Lynch, her inclusion in the WrestleMania 35 conversation was clearly on the agenda. Charlotte's destroying of Ronda in a post-match beatdown was a perfect echo back to Becky Lynch's beating that she gave the baddest woman on the planet just 6 nights earlier on Monday Night Raw when SmackDown invaded the Red Brand. But perhaps more notably, it echoed that fateful night in Brooklyn last August where Becky had finally had enough and decided to decimate her best friend Charlotte in the aftermath of their triple threat match with Carmella at SummerSlam. Now, as you can imagine, Ronda Rousey wasn't exactly going to take that one lying down. She did manage to get a modicum of revenge at TLC where she cost the duo in their triple threat TLC match with Asuka for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship and subsequently gave the title to the Empress. So now, heading into WrestleMania season, WWE have 3 red-hot stars, all with equal tension split between them, all deserving of a big spotlight. As of recording, however, Ronda Rousey is the current Raw Women's Champion, Becky Lynch is set to take on Asuka in a rematch for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and Charlotte Flair is undoubtedly going to be in the Royal Rumble match. So how do we get to this amazing triple threat match, I hear you ask? Well, to be honest, that's not the main question. There's a whole number of ways we can get there, and obviously using the Royal Rumble as a vehicle, that can easily be achieved. The bigger question here, and probably more concern that we should all be asking ourselves, is should we actually get there? How do we hype the match heading into WrestleMania 35, maintaining its momentum and everything like that, without actually losing anything on the way? Because all we've seen so far is these 3 beat the living hell out of each other, and that's happened for a significant period of this storyline. So how do we change that? Well, the answer is simple. You force them to stop. On SmackDown Live in 2019, Becky Lynch's aura is now such that she draws comparisons with Stone Cold Steve Austin, not to mention the fact she already has the black t-shirt with the white Impact font. But to be honest, right now, there's never been a more relevant time for those comparisons. And in Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch has found the Rock to her Stone Cold Steve Austin, a dynamic performer who is simply too good to ignore and, much like the man, deserves a spot at the top. And the top in this particular case just so happens to be WrestleMania 35. While The Rock and Austin's famous feud feels like a fitting comparison here, perhaps it's another rattlesnake rivalry that is beckoning the man, especially if she's planning on making it to that main event at WrestleMania 35. When Becky Lynch was inadvertently taken away from the WWE audience courtesy of an errand right fist from Nia Jax, I'm not saying it was as devastating as when Owen Hart botched the tombstone on Stone Cold Steve Austin, but when the news broke that Becky was going to spend time on the sidelines, it impacted the modern fans just as much. Now, Lynch's relatively quick comeback may not have allowed much time for there to be an absence, not that there's any complaints here, but it didn't take much for the hearts of WWE fans to be motivated to grow fonder of the man. As an interesting comparison then, the period when WWE lost the rattlesnake for the longest actually immediately resulted in them heading towards previously unseen prosperity. An empire was rebuilt on his shoulders, but his neck was literally incapable of holding the weight after all his years of service. And while many thought that Stone Cold would be a huge miss during the infamous hit and run storyline, the truth of the matter is, it was kind of the opposite. He brought such a star quality back to the industry, and in that time, it had rubbed off on the likes of The Rock. And as it just so happened, The Rock was even better at giving the rub than Stone Cold Steve Austin was. And one of the immediate and biggest beneficiaries of said rub just so happened to be a young man by the name of Triple H. Now, in his own right, Triple H was actually slowly but surely becoming one of the best wrestlers in the world during that time period. Genuinely, go back and watch him again. He was, as he would repeatedly tell you, that damn good. But much like Charlotte did at Survivor Series when she stole the spotlight in Becky Lynch's absence, the year 2000 was all about the game. However, just as the man came round again after her injury, the bionic redneck had returned, he was repaired, and he was ready to rumble. After the eventual conclusion of the hit and run storyline arrived, Rikishi's role in the narrative came and then swiftly left, and all we were left with was some very, very pissed off Stone Cold Steve Austin and a Triple H who had been revealed to be the mastermind of it all. The pair were all over each other at the 2001 Royal Rumble, could not be separated, but despite his best efforts, Triple H could not stop Stone Cold from winning and booking his place in the main event of WrestleMania for a WWE title shot. The sheer fury between the two of them meant that this was not going to end until they had a match that was fitting of their rivalry. So Vince McMahon booked the two of them in a 3 stages of hell match. But Not only that, he knew this wasn't going to be enough because the two were absolutely inseparable. So until their scheduled match at No Way Out, it was decided that neither competitor could touch the other. If Stone Cold Steve Austin laid one finger on Triple H, he would lose his WrestleMania title shot. And if Triple H laid one finger on Stone Cold Steve Austin, he would be suspended for 6 months. And as you can imagine, this led to utter chaos. Ahead of the war, to finally settle the score, the physical and psychological mind games went into overdrive. Because the pair couldn't hit one another, we found ourselves with Stone Cold Steve Austin giving a stunner to Stephanie McMahon, and then as a receipt for that one, Triple H was assaulting and abusing Stone Cold's best friend, Jim Ross. By the time the two finally came to blows in their encounter, the heat and the hype for this match had reached WrestleMania level proportions just 1 month before the show of shows. The anticipation to see this 3 stages of hell match was absolutely through the roof. It was a truly inspired angle, and one that doesn't seem to have been redone very well ever since. However, could now be the time to bring it back. You've got Becky Lynch, you've got Ronda Rousey, you've got Charlotte Flair, 3 people who absolutely want to murder each other, who have all this tension that's built up from various people costing each other title opportunities and beating each other down. Surely now is the time to bring that back. WWE, you could argue, are in a much more advantageous position now than they were back in 2001. You'd have Ronda, who'd be divided by brand anyway. She could be over on Raw and out of the picture to a certain extent, and then you'd have Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, who would be doing their best to stay out of each other's way after spending the majority of 2018 absolutely annihilating one another. But what about Ronda Rousey, I hear you ask? Isn't she just going to be a third wheel marooned over on Raw? Well, technically, yes, I guess she is. But logically, isn't that where she's meant to be? Why would she go to SmackDown if she can't beat up Becky and Charlotte? It completely defeats the point of her even being there. So she could stay on Raw, she could stay out of the picture, let them two do all the damage to each other, and let's be honest, Ronda Rousey is the last remaining babyface in this whole thing, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, think about it logically. The last time that Ronda Rousey went running head first to try and get some revenge, what happened to her? She got her arse handed to her by Becky Lynch in a steel chair, so that probably isn't exactly what she wants to do again. In this specific feud, to show some development for Ronda's character, why not have her be wiser? Why not have her be smarter and leave those two to fight it out amongst themselves and try their best not to tear each other apart, and she can just watch from the background, maybe even throwing insults and trying to incite a bit of violence. How good would that be? Most importantly, however, and this absolutely applied during the Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H feud, this stipulation could help to preserve every inch of a match that absolutely needs to be a final battle between these 3 women. In the modern era, WWE so often suffers from accidental overkill. I mean, let's be honest, look at AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. These WrestleMania moments, these dream matches, these once-in-a-lifetimes, they often end up getting undone because of repetitive rematches and tepid restarts. And make no mistake about it, this is, and very much needs to be, an iconic moment. You've got 3 of the biggest superstars in WWE right now, regardless of gender, who have earned their spot in the main event, whose paths have interjected organically up until this point, and who are perfectly poised to become the first ever women to finally headline WrestleMania.
Hello WhatCulture, my name is Simon Miller, and today I have an announcement so big, so huge, it's gonna shatter the very foundations of your life to the point you may need to phone up a friend and say, I don't even know who I am anymore, I have just heard the news, have you heard the news? They'll probably say, no, I haven't heard the news, but you're already on the phone to them, you've already connected with them, so I would appreciate it if you either tell them the news or send them to this video. Thanks. So what is the news? Well, it's nice and simple. I've heard you out there, I've seen you've been commenting, I've read your tweets, and I can now officially let you know that if you do enjoy Raw ups and downs, if you do enjoy SmackDown ups and downs, that now you'll be able to set your watches to them, you'll be able to make notes in your calendars, because we're gonna have an official time for when they're gonna go live. I know, massive. So Ups and Downs for Raw will go live at 2 p.m. GMT, that's British time every Tuesday, and they will go live at 2 p.m. GMT every Wednesday for SmackDown. So you don't have to be aimlessly walking around anymore going, what do? I want to know what got up and what got down and what Seth Rollins did or what AJ Styles is up to. Now you know, 2 p.m. GMT Tuesday, 2 p.m. GMT Wednesdays, Ups and Downs coming at you in the face. I realize what I just said, retract that, keep moving on, and I hope to see you there soon. And I hope that we build an audience so big that if I ever wanted to march an army anywhere in the world, I could, and we'd call it the Ups and Downs Army, because I haven't come up with a better name. So yes, just to reiterate, Raw Ups and Downs, 2 p.m. GMT Tuesday, SmackDown Ups and Downs, 2 p.m. GMT Wednesday. I cannot wait to bring this brand new era in. And unlike other brand new eras, I've already let you know exactly what you can expect to see. Come on, 2019, Kenny Omega, don't know where he's going, but you do know and you can always rely on ups and downs.